Welcome to our Manitou Neo New Customer Wizard Introduction. Within this course, you will learn how to log into Manitou Neo, launch the New Customer Wizard, and step through the New Customer Wizard to create a new customer. Most evergreen browsers can run Manitou Neo. However, this software is optimized for Google Chrome as it uses Google's material design specification. Users using browsers other than Chrome may experience some variations in performance and display. This new interface allows Bold to leverage the latest technologies and allows us to be more responsive with changes and requests. Let's get started. When you are updated to Manitou Neo, you will log into a new browser-based user interface. Load the web address into your Chrome browser and load the page. Enter your user ID and password, and when the page loads, you are automatically loaded to your default dashboard. From there, you can launch the New Customer Wizard by clicking the menu in the upper left-hand corner of the page and selecting New and then Customer, or selecting Maintenance and then New Customer. This launches the New Customer Wizard initial page. The initial setup of the customer record simply contains the new customer ID, country, time zone, language, dealer group, and what monitoring status should be set upon saving the record. Remember that the country must be correct here before moving on to the next page. If this is incorrect after this dialog, you will be required to restart. It is also possible to copy from an existing customer, which allows the ability to look for and select a customer upon which to base the new customer. This tutorial steps through the creation of a new customer in its entirety. Upon entering all appropriate information for this new customer, click Next. The next page is the name and address page, but before we get into the specifics there, let's get to know the wizard first. Notice across the top of the page what looks like a subway map. These are called waypoints. The waypoints remain gray until you reach and complete the page's data. As you see here, we only have the name and address in blue. The information on this page is required before we move on to the contact points. For those of you familiar with the legacy Manitou, this is much like the main customer page. The first thing to set on the name and address page is the customer type. The default setting is residential, and if this account is residential, you can head to the name field. However, if this is a commercial account, drop down and select the customer type from there. This information pulls from the subtype configuration set within the supervisor workstation. If your organization has types beyond residential and commercial, they display here for selection. Notice the customer ID carried over from the initial page. Tab or click to the name field, and based on the selected customer type, the file as copies what you type into the name field for search. If other than normal, it is possible to set the account type and relationship type for this record. Next is the zip or postal code. This is set this way to ensure validation of the address details based on the information already in the database. Enter the zip code and then tab and hit enter to load the city and state that correlates with that zip code. If there are more than one possible city and state available, a dialog appears to provide you with a pick list for the address. Once selected, the focus jumps to the Street 1 field where you can begin entering your customer address details. You may also enter the cross-street, subdivision, and accounting information. Upon completion of all required fields, click Next. The Contacts page allows the entry of numbers, email addresses, and web addresses for this new customer. Manitou Neo now has all related information on a single screen. Select the number type, then enter the telephone number. Notice it is masked, so all you need to do is enter the numbers just as you have been able to do before. When applicable, enter the extension and select a script to use when using automatic features. New to Manitou Neo, it is now possible to enter a general schedule in line with the current element using it. To add a schedule to a contact point, simply select the Schedule dropdown and select New Schedule. This launches a new dialog where you can give the schedule an ID code and description and set the days of the week and times of the day to enable the telephone number. Once the schedule looks good, click Done. This returns you to the contact points and allows you to enter additional telephone numbers, email addresses, and web addresses. Once all site-specific contact points are entered, click Next. The next waypoint is monitoring details. Upon arrival onto this page, you'll see that there are many bits of information to add here. This information was previously housed on the options form within the legacy Manitou system. Notice that the fill options are set to the most common configuration now. Now you will be less likely to miss common settings. Select any applicable group or class codes as needed and set the monitoring group if it is other than 0 for this customer. New to Manitou Neo are inline descriptions of nearly all items with a checkbox. These descriptions explain the purpose and use of each option. It is possible to collapse and expand these individually and in their entirety. Customer-level passwords are easy to configure with the password, the description, and a simple checkbox that flags a password as a duress code. That, when provided to operators, presents a dialog that, when validated, will give them instructions on how to respond. Once all data is set here correctly, click Next. After the monitoring details, the next item on the waypoints is Systems. To add a new system, click Add. This launches the Add System dialog. Notice there are a new set of waypoints for systems. We step through each of these individually. The system type defaults to Event Monitoring, as this is still the most common system type used by monitoring centers today. The system number is an inventory number and is auto-assigned. The first system added is 1, next is 2, and so on. The description should be clear and it should adhere to your business practices. The monitoring type field defaults to alarms only as it is the most common selection. If your site has other services listed within your database, these display in a drop-down and are available for selection. Panel type is still an optional field. When selected, the drop-down displays the available panel types housed within your supervisor workstation. After all is correct, click Next. The next step along the system creation path is transmitters. To add a new transmitter, click Add. The dialog expands to show the available fields for the new transmitter. Once again, the transmitter number is an inventory number. This is the first transmitter for this account, therefore the transmitter number is 1. Enter a clear description that adheres to your business practices. Select the transmitter type to use. Please note, if this account is tied to a dealer, only those transmitter types applied to that dealer are available for selection. Select a receiver line prefix and enter a transmitter ID. If your company has transmitter ID ranges configured, it is possible to simply click the arrow to the right of the transmitter ID field to get the next available transmitter ID. As before, the transmitter protocol type is optional and doesn't directly affect the alarm behavior during regular operations, but it can be selected for reference. Caller ID 1 and 2 as well as remote address are available as before. Transmitter dates are available and are used for reporting purposes. The transmitter test is now a drop-down to select the appropriate test interval based on their customer and the standard operating procedures. The transmitter options have the same expand and collapse information. Grade items are inherited from the transmitter type and are not editable on the customer record. The note selection is available for pertinent information such as location of control panel or lockbox details. When added here, this information is available directly within the alarm for that customer. When done adding transmitter, click Done. Repeat this transmitter process as needed until all transmitters are added to the customer record. When done, click Next. We have sped up the addition of areas and zones in Manitou Neo. Now, if available electronically, it's possible to paste the areas and zones into place. It is possible to use a spreadsheet data or tab-separated text file to copy and paste data into Manitou Neo. When you have your areas in place, you may notice there is now a field for a schedule. New to Manitou Neo is the ability to add open-close schedules in line with the areas form. This way you no longer have to remember to come back to areas to link a schedule. To add a new schedule to an area, click the drop-down to the right of the schedule and select New. Enter the schedule ID to identify the schedule. Some sites keep these very simple, such as OC1, OC2, etc. Enter a clear description for this schedule. If using window codes, you may select one. In this example, we are going to use the wizard to save ourselves some typing. Within the wizard, select the commands and set the times, then apply the schedule to the days of the week where they apply. A good rule of thumb is to apply the wizard schedule to all applicable days of the week and then set the 1 or 2 day changes after the wizard builds the schedule. When ready, click Done. This returns the permanent schedule with the commands and times set up for each day of the week. Make any appropriate changes and when ready, click Next. The next step to adding a system is to add any signal translations on the programming waypoint. As in Legacy Manitou, there is an input side and an output side plus commands and help. While it is not necessary to enter data during the wizard, it is possible to do so. Here is an example of some simple signal translations added for a 4-2 transmitter. Once all translations are in place, click Done. This returns you to the Systems waypoint. You may repeat this process for all systems required for this customer. When all systems are in place, click Next. The next waypoint is Contacts. This page contains all persons and entities that have access to a customer site. This includes people, authorities having jurisdiction, or AHJs, and agencies. Here too it is possible to first configure what you will be adding and then copy and paste the information into place. In this example, we change the site option to mobile, as for this customer there is an abundance of mobile numbers on the list. Then we add the home, as we have several people with different home phone numbers. We then copied data from a file we received. The columns must be type, name, contact point 1, and contact point 2 in order for the spreadsheet or tab delimited text file. This pastes into the fields with only the information and creates the initial record. The person icon on the left of each line drills into the Advanced Edit dialog. We recommend entering that information after completing the wizard. The related entities are AHJs, dealers, branches, and agencies. As before, Manitou checks the option threshold for these entities and changes the drop-down list to a search. Agencies is always a search, as there may be many different types and it is possible to have many agencies linked to a customer record. When all data is in place and correct, click Next. Upon arriving into the call list waypoint, click Add to add a new call list. Enter the call list ID and a clear description. Determine the call list type. In this example, we are creating a main call list. The Show Suppress Contacts will show all persons and entities that do not have a telephone number to call. Remember, rotation lists may only contain people. In order to have a call list defer to another, there must be at least 2 call lists. When ready to add people or entities to a call list, select the individual's line on the left-hand available contacts. Their details then show within the Center section. To add the entire person to the call list, click the plus sign next to their name on the left-hand side. To add an individual contact point to the call list, click the plus to the right of the items in the Center section. Once all people and entities are added to the call list, it is possible to move them up and down the list simply by dragging and dropping them as needed. When done, click Done. Repeat this as necessary until all call lists are in place, then click Next. The final waypoint on this journey is the user-defined fields. If your business doesn't utilize these when creating new customers, then you may immediately click Finish. If they do, please enter the appropriate information into the user-defined fields and then click Finish. That's it. You have now created your new customer and can review it within Manitou Neo. Be sure to review your customer record for accuracy and complete any items left unfinished. Oh, and one more thing. As you may have noticed, the Finish link seems to be available on all the pages within the new Customer Wizard. That is correct. As before, the only absolutely required data to save a new customer record is an ID, a name, and an address. All other items in the wizard are available to help build a workflow that includes all key factors in the new customer record. We have now reached the end of this tutorial, so let's review some of the key points. We learned how to log on to Manitou Neo, we learned how to launch the new customer wizard, and we stepped through all the elements of the new customer wizard, including new places to add schedules in line with the data where it applies, and the ability to copy and paste information directly into the wizard. Now that you learned how to add a new customer, if you have a Manitou Neo system installed, jump in and give it a try. If you haven't been updated to Manitou Neo yet, follow the link below and you'll find a PDF that will give you a customer to create and a demo server where you can create it. Thank you for taking time to learn about Manitou Neo's new customer wizard. We're excited for you to give it a try.